Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're zeroing in on something pretty fundamental for achieving. Well, just about anything you set your mind to. Discipline. Now, I know the word itself can sound a bit stiff, maybe, like
Yeah.
rules and restrictions.
Yeah, definitely. A bit rigid.
But trust us on this, because
Okay.
when you really get it, discipline is basically the engine that turns all those, great intentions we have into actual results. And that's exactly what we're diving into today.
That's right. You've shared a really insightful motivational speech with us, and, well, our mission is to unpack it for you, the learner, to get beyond the surface and really explore what discipline truly is and, crucially, how you can actually build more of it in your own life.
Yeah.
We want to move past the abstract stuff and give you some practical, relatable takeaways you can, like, start using right away.
Exactly. Because discipline isn't about becoming some kind of emotionless robot, just
Right.
rigidly sticking to a plan without any room for life to happen. That's a common misunderstanding, I think. Think of it more like how your source material puts it. An inner compass and your consistent engine. I really like that phrasing.
Me too.
It's that internal guidance that keeps you pointed towards what you want, and that reliable power that keeps you moving even when things get tough or, distractions pop up everywhere.
And what's really interesting, I think, is flipping the perspective. Consider discipline not as some kind of self-punishment, but actually as a powerful form of self-respect.
Well, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, it's about valuing your own goals, right? And investing in that future version of yourself that you're working towards. When you consistently choose actions that line up with your aspirations, even when it's hard right now, you're basically saying, hey, my goals matter, and I'm committed to making them happen.
And to really bring this home, your source gives us this great story, the example of Anya, the aspiring musician. You can almost picture that initial spark, right? Her connection with the piano.
Yeah, that moment of inspiration.
But the journey from that first feeling to actually mastering it, well, that was anything but easy, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely not. The story really emphasizes the sheer commitment involved. We're talking countless hours of practice, the frustrations that inevitably come with learning something complex.
Hitting wrong notes.
Exactly, hitting wrong notes, struggling with tricky passages. It paints a really clear picture of the choices Anya had to make, often choosing practice over, well, maybe hanging out with friends or doing something more immediately fun.
Right. That delayed gratification piece.
That's it, that conscious choice for a longer-term reward.
And it's interesting how the speech also mentions the role of her teacher, right? In helping instill that early discipline. Sometimes having that external support, someone who believes in you and gives that gentle but firm push, that can be so crucial, especially when you're just starting out on something difficult. Have you found that's pretty common in these stories?
Oh, definitely. It comes up a lot, that external accountability or mentorship.
Yeah.
It can provide a kind of framework, encouragement that's just vital in those early stages of building discipline.
Like training wheels.
Exactly like training wheels. They give you stability until you find your own balance. And in Anya's case, it seems her teacher really helped her build that internal balance of self-discipline.
And what really hits home about Anya's story is seeing the payoff.
Right.
It wasn't just about getting good. She became exceptional, earned scholarships, played in amazing venues,
Right.
and ultimately connected with people through her music. It just underscores those tangible results we're always looking for when we connect these sometimes abstract ideas like discipline to real-world achievements.
Precisely. And while Anya's story is a beautiful illustration in a creative field, discipline obviously isn't limited to that. The motivational speech you shared then broadens out, giving some really recognizable examples of people across different areas who credit their success to this very quality. Let's talk Michael Jordan, for instance, a name everyone knows.
Yeah, MJ. And what's amazing to remember is that even someone who reached that level faced huge hurdles early on, getting cut from his high school team. Wow, that's a powerful reminder that the path isn't usually straight up, is it?
Not at all. It's easy to look back at someone at the absolute top and just assume they were always destined for it, but the reality is often way more complicated.
Definitely.
And his famous quote, "It really gets to the heart of the resilience that discipline builds. I've missed more than 9,000 shots. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over, and that is why I succeed."
Wow.
It's not just about raw talent, right? It's about the disciplined mindset to keep putting in the work, to actually learn from every setback, and just keep showing up, even after failing again and again.
It makes you wonder, what is it about that disciplined way of handling failure
Mm.
that led someone like Jordan not just quit, but actually use those things as fuel.
That's such a key point. It's the discipline to reframe failure, not seeing it as like the final word on your abilities, but as valuable data, feedback. It takes a disciplined mind to actually analyze what went wrong, figure out the lessons, and then apply those lessons next time. It's a cycle, really, a cycle of learning and refining, and it's all powered by discipline.
Absolutely. Then we have Marie Curie, a total trailblazer in science. I mean,
Yeah.
the first woman to win a Nobel Prize, the only person to win in 2 different scientific fields. That just speaks volumes about her intellect and her dedication.
And the source rightly points out how incredibly painstaking her research was. This wasn't about quick wins.
No.
It involved years of meticulous, often really tough work, sometimes in pretty harsh conditions. Her disciplined pursuit of knowledge, it just shows how deep curiosity combined with that relentless discipline can lead to discoveries that literally change the world.
It's almost humbling, isn't it? Thinking about the level of sustained focus and commitment needed for that kind of work, the ability to stay dedicated despite setbacks, maybe lack of recognition early on. What do you think drives that kind of intense, long-term disciplined focus?
I think often it boils down to a really strong internal motivation, a deep curiosity, a genuine passion for the subject. When that internal drive is strong enough, it fuels the discipline you need to push through obstacles and stay focused over the long haul. It's not just about willpower, it's about being deeply connected to the why behind the effort.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
And finally, the speech brings up Elon Musk, someone who's, well, constantly in the news for these incredibly ambitious, sometimes seemingly impossible projects. He's obviously a visionary thinker, but the source makes a really important distinction here.
Right. It emphasizes that while his innovative ideas are key, it's his relentless work ethic and disciplined focus that are absolutely crucial for actually making these massive things happen, for pushing the boundaries of what we even think is possible.
Yeah.
Juggling multiple demanding companies, constantly driving innovation, that takes an extraordinary level of organization, prioritizing, and just sheer disciplined effort.
When you look at someone like Musk, involved in so many different complex things at once, how do you think discipline shows up there? Is it super strict scheduling, delegation, or something else?
It's probably a mix of things, for sure. Effective time management, prioritization, those have to be essential.
Right.
But I also suspect there's a deep discipline of focus, that ability to switch between completely different areas and fully immerse yourself in the task at hand while still keeping the long-term vision clear for each one. And yeah, underlying it all, a tremendous work ethic, no doubt.
So reflecting on these different examples, Anya, the musician, Jordan, the athlete, Curie, the scientist, Musk, the entrepreneur, what would you say is the common thread, the essential element linking their achievements through this lens of discipline?
I think it's the consistent application of focused effort towards a specific goal, day in, day out, even when it's hard, even when there are distractions. It's making those conscious choices that put long-term goals ahead of immediate comfort or pleasure. And like the Jordan example showed us, it also includes the discipline to learn from setbacks, not be crushed by them.
Exactly. So the really important question now for you, the listener, is, okay, how do I take this understanding what discipline is, how it works for successful people, and actually apply it to my goals, to my life?
Right.
And your source material gives some really practical, actionable steps. These are things anyone, truly, no matter what you're working towards, can start using today. The first key, define your why.
This is absolutely foundational. Vague goals, they just tend to fizzle out when things get tough, don't they?
Totally.
But when you connect your goals to your deepest motivations, like the core reasons why achieving this really matters to you, it creates a much stronger internal engine for discipline. That why becomes your anchor when those storms of procrastination or difficulty hit. What are some ways someone could really dig down and find that why?
That's a great question. I think it involves asking yourself why repeatedly, like a 5 whys technique almost. So if your goal is, say, learn a new skill, don't just stop at because it's good for my career.
Okay.
Ask, well, why is that important? Maybe it leads to more fulfilling work or a greater sense of accomplishment or maybe being able to contribute something new. Keep digging until you hit those deeper, more emotionally resonant reasons. Then you got to keep those reasons front and center. Write them down. Look at them often.
That's a really effective approach, yeah. Moving beyond just the surface desire and connecting with the real intrinsic value the goal holds for you.
The next actionable step is set realistic goals. This is so, so crucial for avoiding that feeling of being completely overwhelmed and just giving up before you even really start.
The paralysis.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of trying to climb the whole mountain at once, break it down. Smaller, more manageable steps. Why is this so important for building discipline?
Because those smaller wins, they build momentum. They create a sense of progress. Every time you check off a mini goal, it reinforces your belief that you can do this, you know? It strengthens that discipline muscle. It's all
Mhm.
about creating a positive feedback loop. Action, reward, more action.
Makes perfect sense. Then we have create a routine. Now, this might sound simple, maybe even a bit boring,
Yeah, not the sexiest tip.
right? But the power of consistent habits really can't be overstated. Even putting aside a relatively short amount of time each day for your goal, it adds up hugely over time. Your source suggests even just 15 to 30 minutes daily can make a real difference. What's the magic behind routine when it comes to discipline?
Routine essentially automates discipline to some extent. When an action becomes just a regular part of your day, like brushing your teeth, it takes less conscious willpower to actually start it.
Less mental energy.
Exactly. It shifts from being this big, deliberate act of discipline to just a habit. And when those habits line up with your goals, they become incredibly powerful drivers of consistent effort.
Yeah.
You're basically building pathways in your brain that make the action you want to do the default action.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then we need to talk about one of the biggest enemies of discipline in our modern world, distraction.
Oh boy. Yes.
So the next step is eliminate distractions. Your source gives practical examples, like putting the phone away, creating a dedicated workspace. It's about consciously minimizing those things that are constantly pulling your attention away from what you need to focus on. What are some other common distractions people face, and how can they proactively manage them?
Well, yeah, the phone, social media, notifications, that's huge for many people. Actually turning off non-essential notifications during focused work times can be a game changer.
Yeah.
Creating that designated workspace, even if it's just a corner of a room, helps mentally signal, okay, it's focus time now. Also, just communicating your focused work times to family or housemates can help minimize interruptions. It's really about designing an environment that supports concentration, not sabotages it.
The next point is so important, I think, for anyone who's ever felt discouraged by not being perfect right away. Practice consistency over perfection.
Yes. This one's huge.
It's such a liberating idea because it acknowledges, hey, we're human, we're going to have off days, we'll make mistakes. The key isn't aiming for some impossible perfection right out of the gate, but really focusing on just showing up consistently, putting in the effort, even if it's not your absolute best effort every single time. Why is consistency so much more valuable than chasing immediate perfection?
Because perfectionism, it often leads straight to procrastination or even just freezing up completely.
Right.
The fear of not doing something perfectly can stop us from even starting.
Yeah, I've been there.
We all have. Consistency, though, builds momentum. Even small, consistent efforts, they compound over time. They lead to significant results eventually. It's about making steady progress, inch by inch, rather than waiting for the perfect moment or the perfect output right from the start.
I really like the next point too, embrace the process. This shifts the focus from only being fixated on the end result, the finish line, to actually finding satisfaction, maybe even enjoyment in the work itself, in the journey of getting there. It's about learning to appreciate the challenges, the growth you experience, even those small wins along the way. How can someone cultivate that mindset, embracing the process?
It often involves a perspective shift. Instead of just focusing on the outcome, try to find aspects of the task itself that are interesting or engaging. Maybe break the process down into smaller, more engaging steps. Definitely celebrate small milestones along the way.
Good idea.
And remember that the skills and knowledge you gain during the process are valuable in themselves, regardless of the final outcome. It's about finding meaning in the effort, not just the destination.
And finally, your source suggests finding an accountability partner, sharing your goals with someone else. It can add that extra layer of motivation and support. Just knowing someone else is aware of your commitments and might check in. That can be a powerful nudge to stay on track. What makes a good accountability partner?
Ideally, you want someone supportive, but also honest, someone who will encourage you, but also gently call you out if you're slacking off.
Right, not just let you off the hook.
Exactly. It should be someone whose opinion you respect, and maybe someone who's also committed to their own goals. That creates a mutual sense of support and encouragement. It's a two-way street.
So as we start to wrap up this deep dive into discipline, it's really clear, isn't it? It's not some magical trait that only a few lucky people are born with. It's a skill, a capacity that can be developed, strengthened through conscious effort and consistent practice, just like any other skill, really.
And as the motivational speech you shared puts it so well, discipline isn't a magic bullet, but it's probably the closest thing we have to one for actually making our dreams happen. It's the power that lets us push through obstacles, keep our eyes on the prize when things get tough, and ultimately unlock potential inside ourselves that maybe we didn't even know was there.
Absolutely. So for you, the listener, I really encourage you, take a moment today. Think about your own life. Where do you see opportunities? Where could cultivating a little more discipline make a real positive difference?
And remember, you don't need to overhaul everything all at once. That's usually a recipe for failure.
Right.
As your source suggests, just choose one small area where you'd like to be more disciplined. Maybe it's spending consistent time on a hobby you've let slide, or making slightly healthier food choices, or really focusing on one work task without getting distracted. Keep it small to start.
Then pick just one of the actionable tips we talked about that resonates with you for that area.
Hmm.
Maybe it's really nailing down your why for it, or setting that tiny realistic first step, or scheduling that dedicated 15 minutes in your daily routine. Start small. Build that momentum and begin to feel the incredible power that even small acts of self-discipline can have.
Because ultimately, yeah, the path towards achieving anything meaningful will have challenges, that's guaranteed. But it's the consistent application of discipline that gives you the inner strength and the unwavering focus to navigate those challenges and ultimately to create the life you really want.
Well said. And on that note, here's a final thought for you to really mull over. Think about one long-term goal, something you've maybe put on the back burner, something you've always wanted to achieve but haven't quite gotten started on. How might applying consistent small acts of discipline, even just dedicating a few focused minutes to it each day, how might that begin to subtly but surely shift your progress towards that goal? Even if we didn't talk about that specific goal today, it's a powerful concept to reflect on.